Here we go. Dave here, how are you? Today is the 23rd of February 2020. And what have we got on the show? I've had to upgrade to 2.5 times specs. It's getting a bit sad, isn't it? All right, today on the show, we've got the dust extractor update. So we're going to be doing something with this 6-inch pipe. Let's make a wooden hand plane. We're continuing on with that project. And what else we got? Kathy Wise, Intarsia Artist Tour. A couple of snippets from her show that she's doing. The traditional tools group meeting is on today, and that's probably where I am right at the moment. This is a pre-recorded, live, unedited show. So you'll still be able to watch it as a premiere, make comments in the side over here, and you can also watch these comments after the show has premiered by clicking show comments. Pretty obvious, I guess. What else have we got? The Timber Tools and Artisans show in Brisbane, 20th to the 22nd of March. I will be giving free tickets away, but probably 5 doubles again to that show, but I'm going to wait till around the 8th of March before I run that competition. The winner of the push block from Microjig, courtesy of Carbotech, I will announce towards the end of the show. Ian Moore has given us some info on Jarrah and what type of glue to use. I'll go through all of that. Support the channel through Patreon and the Amazon links below, and thank you so much to everyone who is doing that. It really does make a difference. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is have a look at this. Now what I've done here, I have 6-inch stormwater PVC. Now the reason I use this is because it's dirt cheap to buy, it's smooth on the inside. I do have a fix for static, and even though people say that you're not going to have a fire as far as static is concerned with this, you're probably right. But you still will get a little zap off it every now and then unless you earth it. So I'll put a link up here for how you find, or to the video on my getting rid of this static problem. Okay, now what I've got here, this is on my bench. I've got a couple of lever clamps through the dog holes in the Stanton bench. It's not secured to the bench below because the anti-slip grip tape on the legs and also along the back of the apron are going to stop it from going anywhere. I've got a couple of strap clamps anchored around the pipe, both ends, and also they're anchored around the pipe and also onto those lever clamps. And it makes it extremely stable. I'm going to be cutting this by hand using just an ordinary crosscut panel saw, jack saw, whatever you want to call it. And the reason I've got it strapped down, I could have just held it, and gone like that. But if this catches, and they do, these saws will catch, and it will roll the pipe, and on the push stroke, it may do this thing right across your finger or your thumb. Now, you probably won't cut it off. It's not a saw stop. This is just to hold it steady so it doesn't jam, or if it does, it's not going to roll and put you in danger. You would end up with a nasty cut. And believe me, I've done it before. Now I have the length that I've got set here. Now, first of all, why am I doing this? I'll show you. This is the silencer that we made last week. I've given it a coat of paint, and I'm going to show you down the inside there. That's how much dust has settled inside. Now I've run 3 sheets, 8-foot by 4-foot sheets of ply on the CNC, and it's had 1.5 full drums of sawdust come off the spoil while I've been making these benches. And that'll give you an indication as to how much gets caught by that cyclone I've just put in, or inline separator they call it, or inline dust collector, and hardly anything is going outside. That baffle for sound is working fantastic, and I've had a few people say, Dave, why don't you put the baffle in line? And which was what I was planning on doing anyway. So I'm going to cut it here. This part here will go out to the weather. This part will be inside, hard up against the impeller's exhaust. and I will have it so that this silencer will slide on around about 2 inches onto each section of pipe, which is around 50 millimeters both sides. So you'll see I'll have a good 400 millimeters available for muffling. And I'll be able to slide it out and give it a tap and clean it if it needs it. So I'm trying to think ahead to all the problems that I might encounter. I also have one other thing. People have been throwing up all sorts of suggestions for soundproofing, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for that. All right, and I will go ahead with what I'm doing, and also I will listen, and some of those ideas I may also incorporate. So here we go. Put the glasses on so I see where I'm going. I've got it all set here. We'll get the saw, get started. At the other end over here, I've got it so it's only got about a 2-inch drop before it lands on another support when I finish the cut. Now when I'm cutting, I just use my thumb as a guide halfway up the side of the saw. I don't have my fingers all the way down the bottom where the teeth are, because that's, that'd be silly. So here we go. See how well it's sitting there? It's not going anywhere. When I get through the walls, we're going to start going down. Now I can let go. Whoop, went through the whole thing. Starting to drop. Now at this point, don't try and follow the cut. Keep your saw up against the edge that's supported. The other part rolling away, you don't want to do that because the end of the cut will start curling. So we just keep it straight against there. When it gets quiet, you're almost through. There, done. Now that is a nice, clean cut. See that? Effortless, absolutely effortless. I'm going to put these over here. It stands up perfectly square. As I say, all I was doing was holding it on with these clamps, strap clamps. And that's it, held on here with the lever clamps. I'll slide the strap clamps off. These things are fantastic. And the other end. Done. Look, I'll prove how good they stand up. Look at that. That's a pretty square cut. I'm walking around it, no strings. There we go. I'll lay them down so they don't fall over. So as I say, they'll slide inside the muffler at both ends, and that will be my inline. Very happy with that. Cool, take these out. It's a dead easy system, isn't it? All right, move the jack saw out of the way. Now the next thing we're going to do is, here's the plane that I'm making. Now remember last week I glued this up, and then when I finished gluing it and clamped it up, I had one person get in touch with me. A few people made comment, but one person in particular made comment, and I'll find it was Ian, who has been making furniture out of Jarrah for many, many years. I'm going to read what he said to me. David, after 20 plus years working with Western Australian Jarrah, I can tell you that your choice of PVA glue on Jarrah will fail in time. Now you know that I use Type Bond 3, which ordinarily is a great glue. Here it is. Soils in Western Australia that Jarrah grows in are slightly acidic, and thus the sap in Jarrah is also slightly acidic. That acid attacks PVA glue over time and the joints fail. The only glue that works long time with Jarrah is epoxy resin, because it has a huge half-life and is unaffected by acid. Half a lifetime working with Jarrah making furniture, and I've experienced the glue failures. The WA CALM department published a scientific paper report suggesting the UF glues, urea formaldehyde, work well with Western Australian timbers. I tried that for a period, seemingly with success. But 10 years later, I was repairing furniture glued with the UF glue joints, and re-gluing with epoxy resin. Golden rule for Jarrah, nothing but epoxy resin. Well, Ian, thank you very much for letting me know that. I did take it apart, put it through the table saw, and then re-glued it with epoxy. So I've already obviously taken it out of the clamps, dressed on the jointer, cleaned that side off with the glue, put it up against the fence on the jointer, made sure it was 90 degrees. Now I'm going to run it through the... No, I'm not. I'm going to put it over the table saw first. I think I will. No, I'm going to run it through. I'll run it through the thickness planer first. Now, the reason I started mucking around there was because I've got a camera set up down there, and I forgot that I was just going to go with the camera that's here to show you how I'm going to do it. Now, on this thicknesser, there's a little height indicator there, so I can just put this slightly in, lower the head down slowly until I see this indicator moving up, and it will tell me when I'm ready to go. So I'm just slowly lowering it down. Okay, it's moved up, so I'm on 0.5 millimeter there. So I'm going to lock the head. I've already got the dust porter open there, and I think that's all that I'm going to need for this one. I'll put the ear muffs on. Eye muffs, I should say, sorry. We'll have to give another pair of these away soon. And looking for the remote, which is probably right in front of me. There it is. So because I have a face and an edge that are already dressed and square to each other, I can use those as my references to make parallel. So I'm going to sit the dress side on here and run it through. Then I'm going to take it down to the table saw and cut it through to the size that they recommend. We'll turn the dust extractor on first. This one's going fine. We'll run it through. You may want to turn the sound down just a little bit while I do this. I'll put the eye section on. All safe. Looking at grain direction, it's going both ways, so I don't think there's one better than the other. I'll go another one. Turn it off for a second. This is why we do it parallel, like I'm putting it through a thicknesser. So at the moment, it's all clean here. That's fine. But if I just put that over a jointer, I would have had a tapering wedge shape here instead of this side being parallel to that side. So I'm going to go again, lower it down a little. Half a turn. Getting there, I'll go another one. Nearly there. So that's going to do me for width. Now the thing is, I have to make sure, see it's come up. That's that side, that's the one I've just run through the thickness planer. I've got a little bit down here, but I'm not overly worried. Now they send you a blade with these kits. This is a kit from Veritas, as I said last week. Oh, one little interesting thing. This little thing is in with the blade. This absorbs moisture from the blade during transport. There's even a little story here that they send about it. The lap blade and the corrosion inhibiting boxboard chip is included with this product. The chip emits a volatile corrosion inhibitor. Molecules from the VCI chip attach themselves to the metal surface to form an invisible thin film to protect from corrosion. I bet you didn't know that. All right, now I need to make sure that the blade is narrower than the actual plane that I'm making, which it is. It's narrower by around 2 millimeters on this particular situation. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to go too much deeper down this end where there's a little bit of glue, because we're going to put sides on this further down the track as well, so that'll all disappear. Now I'm going to make, the plane that I want to make is going to be almost the size of a jointer. Now this is my Turner number 7 jointer. It's going to be halfway between, or closer to a jointer than my number 6 4-plane Turner. These are just, aren't they gorgeous? Look, it's got a little bit of corrosion on the side. I better clean that up. Okay, so I'm going to move those out of the way. But you can see this plane, I'm going to have Jarrah as the base. And so my jointer is around 30 millimeters longer. So the jointer plane, the Turner, is about 30 millimeters longer than this blank that I'm going to be making my jointer out of. Now I want this to last a long, 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 long time. I want to pass this down through family, and see what we can do. But this is, I'm going to show you another look. I get excited a little bit ahead of time. So I'm going to be using this tape whilst I'm doing it, because all of the information that is given to me is in imperial and I'm metric. So this basically converts for me as I'm going along, which works well. All right, what was the next thing that I'm going to do here? I'm going to work on this side here. Actually, I've got to go down to the saw and I've got to rip it down to, what size does it say? The instructions are pretty good, 2.5 inches. So that's 63 millimeters. I'm going to rip it down to around 65, and I'll switch the cameras now. Where are we? Cool. Just looking at how we're doing for time. 16 minutes in. And there. All right, you can see me. Hello, I'm going to come down over there to the table saw. It's really not a lot of area here. The cameras make it look bigger than it is. I want this one shut off. And people have been also suggesting that possibly I have automatic blast gates. Yeah, it's a lot of money. A lot of mucking around. I really don't do enough here to justify it, but never say never. All right, I'm going over to this one with my eye muffs. Going to open up the other, up the top here. So I'll be sucking from up there and open up the bottom blast gate into the cabinet of the saw. Yes, that's open. Good. All good, all good, all good. Turn that on. So I'm hoping you're enjoying these kind of projects. I'm just thinking aloud while I've got things here. This is going to go through there. I have enough height on the blade, so I'm going to go all the way through the wood. I'm protected. I'm on 65 millimeters. I will use the push stick in this situation because I'm a little bit narrow for the other push block. There you go. I'm going to go this way up. Release these as well, just in case. You can see what they're doing down there. Keeping me safe. There we go. That's my blank. And I'll shut that dusty off again and run this through the thickness planer. Again. Thickness planer, whatever you want to call it. I have seen people today talking about rabbit and rebate. All depends on where you were when you learnt all the stuff as to what it's called. It's a thicknesser for me in Australia. Turn this one off, And for people in the States, I'm guessing it's just a planer. Right, start her up again. Put these back on. Now, I'm going to push it through this side first. There's a little bit of a step there, and it's not going to be supported as it goes under the roller, so I have to really hold it down so it doesn't want to tip. Just a little heads up. Now that's basically what causes snipe. Let me shut that one down. Okay. Snipe is when the end kicks up from being held down by the in-feed roller and pushed down again from the out-feed roller. Now I got a little bit of snipe there, but I controlled it pretty well. There's just a little bit there and a little bit there. Now these are staying here for the moment. And the snipe didn't worry me because I'm going to create some carving there. I don't know which end I'm going to use first, but this is going to be my front handle. Basically, this is going to be the same as the knob on the front of this plane. This is where you hold it at the front. On this one, I'm going to hold it like that. And my intention as well at the back here is to have some kind of a hand pistol grip that I'll fashion into the body here. So the plane will be pushed along like so. That's the plan anyway. May not work. We'll see what happens. Put this out of the way. All right, now, next part is where it could be a mess. So I've got to focus. All right, so we've done that. And it tells me on this list here, let's have a look. Just up here, tells me the different distances back from the front, the toe of the plane, to the mouth. Now, for a jointer, they say 9 inches back, and the overall length should be 22 inches. Well, I've got 21 inches, and so I'm going to come back slightly under 9 inches. I'm going to come back 8.5 inches and put a mark there. Just here. And they say using a square, which I've got here, to square a line up. Now I'm going to go and get the other camera because I don't think I need to be down there for a while. So I'll get the other camera and bring it up here so you can see a little bit closer what's happening. I've got Carl Cam over the CNC at the moment, so that's why I'm using this one at the moment. Around and down. That should be okay. Let me have a look. My glasses are fogging up a little. That's not too bad. There we go. I shall give these a little bit of a clean. Had to have a little drink there. All right. So you can see here, this is my pencil line that they've asked me to put along there, and having a look at their instructions. Lay the inner body as shown in figure 3. So this is figure 3. Using a pencil, mark the mouth location in from one end of the bottom of the inner body. See table 2 for marking the location, which is this one over here. Carry the line partway up the side using a square. Lay out the blade bed location at 45 degrees from that mark. So I've got to come all the way to the bottom of this mark and go back at 45 degrees. Like so. Okay. Are you with me? There's my square line straight up and my 45 degrees back for the blade bed. That's what our blade is going to sit on. Right, so this is a standard angle plane. What's the next thing they tell me to do? All right, lay out the 45 mark, then scribe the curve part, approximately 4-inch radius, for the escapement. Okay, so, and then it says to cut out the blade bed prior. So I'm not going to come all the way to the bottom. Oh, I'm not going to do anything with that pencil, it's broken. How many more have I got? Oh, let's use the clutch pencil. Okay. I'm going to use this. This is 180 millimeters. It's close enough. It's a cut-off wheel for a grinder, for my 9 1/4 inch grinder. So I'm going to come up around about 4 millimeters. So it's basically, what's the 3/32 in your speak. And this is going to be my escapement for the shavings to come out. Like so. It's not too hard, is it? So you can see all my pictures there. Easier to see it on the rock maple. Don't worry about this wane. That's going to be fine, because as I said, we're going to have sides on this as well. So I'm going to cut this right on. So I've got a very, very sharp point. So I'm going to do this over on the Capex. And I'll do that now. Move all of this back out of the way. You don't need to see this bit because, you know, this, everyone does this. Move that back up to about there. Put my eye muffs on again. Okay. So now, my jointer is looking like it's had a bad traffic accident. Okay, this is where the bed is going to go. And this is my escapement. Now, the guys at Veritas are probably cringing at the moment, saying, Dave, this part here was going to be your support block for drilling the hole. Now, because this jointer plane is too tall for that kind of thing, there's no way I was going to be able to mount this on a drill press. I'm going to mount it on the front of my bench here. So that really doesn't concern me. The next thing I'm going to do is cut this at 45 degrees. Now, by all means, if you wanted to, you could have cut that at 45 degrees straight off the bat. So I go back over here, and it probably would have been a good idea, but you know, I get excited. Swinging around to 45 there, and I'm going to put the clamp on. I might show you this part because this is a... yes, I will. I'm going to bring this back over here. It's important when you're cutting things with a miter saw that you try and get it absolutely safe. So where I've got the Capex here, I've got the laser on it showing me, you can see it where it goes past the red line there. I always swing this clamp on to hold it as well, because the blade is wanting to pull the timber that way. And my hand would ordinarily be on the end here holding on and also wanting to get pulled towards the blade. So I'm going to hold way back here and do the cut there. This offcut will be fine. It's not going to go anywhere. If I had a backing board as well, it'd probably be a little bit safer, but this is going to be okay. I don't lift the blade until I finish the cut. Staying down, then I lift. Now you'll also notice that I did not bring the saw forward and plunge and then pull it backwards through it, because there was enough in the blade to actually do the cut, enough size in the blade to finish the cut off in just a straight plunge on its arc, rather than using the sliding function. The sliding function, if I'd done that and pulled it back here, as I'm pulling it through, it could tend to get this at the end and just flick it. So easier and safer doing it that way, in my opinion. Other people may say otherwise, but look at that. Isn't that a beautiful cut? This is a great machine. People also say they don't like this machine because of the shape of the handle here. They like the handle this way instead of this way. They say this is unnatural. I find that's pretty natural to me. I've got plenty of grip on that, and I have the strength to pull down and push up easier than that. Okay, go back over here, and we'll keep going. Switch the cameras again. You know, it's lucky I switched the cameras. Last week I forgot to, and I was over yabbering on about the about the dust extraction on the CNC, and I'm sure people were calling out, "Dave, what are you doing?" I know that my wife was saying, "You haven't moved the camera." I know. Alrighty, spin that back to there. Let me have a look where we're up to. So this is, turn the camera around, so we were talking about it just then. This is the escape, and I could actually make it a little bit better than that if I wanted to, but it's only for shaving, so I'll bring it down a little bit more. And this is the blade bed. And I'll show you what I mean by the blade bed. This is going to sit on there and slide down for the cutting. Okay. Up and down. And it's going to have a few other things. So we'll go through all that a little bit further down the track. Right. I'm not going to cut that quite yet. Or should I? I don't know. Let me see. Well, let's keep going what they say. Okay. Cut the blade bed out first and proceed to cut out the escapement. So we'll cut out the escapement. Draw a line along the center of the blade bed. That's the next step. Let's do this cutout. They've said they want me to do it. I will move the camera over here to the bandsaw. Move this along. And we're still there. Good. I'll move this out of the way. Back over to there. And we've got a lot of room here to cut this out. So I'll be cutting from this side. Like that. Okay? And what I may also do is a couple of cuts to relieve it. I might do that first. Open up the dust extraction to there, underneath. Bandsaws don't usually have very good dust extraction, but it's better to have it than not have it. The eye muffs again. I'm going to look at holding this with this push block as well, because I think I'm going to get a better grip. All right, dust extraction. And on. No, off. I'm going to lower the blade down. I did have it set up for doing the next step, so I'm waiting. I'm going to lower the blade down. Or the blade guide, I should say. To about there. I want to be able to get this all around it without being caught. That'll do me. All right. Okay, that's my cut. And it's pretty decent. Wait for the blade to stop. A little bit of burning, that's on the inside, which is fine. This is nice. I can clean this up with a bobbin sander, and I'll probably do that before the end of the show. Switching back, turn that off. Back to the main camera. All right, so we've got that done. We'll bring this camera back over here. About there. And let's read the next section. Another drink. All right. The next section, it says, draw a line along the center of the blade bed surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this down here. So I'll switch the cameras again so you can see what I'm up to. I'm hoping you enjoy these kind of projects. I'll slide this in from that end and the other one from the other end to hold it nice and tight. And what's going to happen here is the cushion strip that's on the front of the apron is going to stop it slipping at all. Well, that's the plan. You know, I've had these fantastic plans before and things haven't gone quite as I thought they might, but having two there, I think that's going to be pretty good. It's not going anywhere. All right, the center of that will measure halfway across. I know there's centering jigs that you can get. That is 57 millimeters. Okay, so half of 57 is 25 and 3 is 28.5. So I'm going to set this to 28 to allow for the thickness of the pencil, which is a half a millimeter lead in this thing. And I think that should give me the center pretty well. You see I flipped it over so that I'm continuing along all the way to the end. Going to have a look at the other side. It's showing that I'm off a little bit. Maybe the square isn't as accurate as I thought it was. Let's take it to 20. About there. Flip her over. Yeah, that might be better. Yep, that's perfect. Ignore the inside line, David. Done. Cool. I'll show you nice and close. There you go. Okay, what we're going to do next, come in nice and close there. Good. Now it says here on their instructions, you see this part here, I've blanked this off because I didn't want to confuse myself. This is for the narrower blade. I've got the 2 1/4 inch blade. So for making a plane with a 2 1/4 inch blade, make the marks at 3 1/2 inches to A and 2 5/8 to B. So this length is, this is from the pointy end. So this is from here, not from this side. So from my Jarrah side, I need to come up 3 1/2 inches, which I shall do. Which is right there. And that's pretty much where it says. And 2 5/8. 2 1/2 inch is 4/8. That's 5/8 just there. So I'll do a metric conversion for everyone. That will be, your main one is 89 millimeters. This one here for point A is 89 when you're using it as this kind of blade, the 2 1/4. And 67 millimeters for point B. Okay. Next thing to do is to mark those with a scratch awl or a which I've done there, and then this one or a center punch would have done the same thing, but I like this scratch awl. All right, in close again. 89, 60, whatever I said. All right. You know, surely there's got to be more exciting things to do than watch this. But there you go. All right, now it says here to use a center punch or scratch awl to dimple the locations. Drill press is ideal for drilling the holes, as is a jig block with a 45-degree angle to hold it in position. This is their little block that they're talking about that we just cut out. One or more specifically, that you can use a turner's tape to affix blah, blah, blah. We're not doing it that way. All right, here we go. At the A mark, which is this one here, drill a 7/8 of an inch hole to the depth of 5/8 of an inch. Right. I have a 7/8 Forstner bit. The depth from the tip of the cutter to the back is 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go, so I've come to almost all of the way past the black section there. So we'll do that first. It will slide straight into the dimple, and I will turn very slowly to get it started. Now, I can normally hold a drill pretty straight. If I turn it this way, it might be more exciting for you. I'm hoping this is right. I'm thinking it is. It is, because the blade is going to be sitting here. Our lateral adjuster is going to be here. So I'm just going to keep on drilling down here. This probably isn't the sharpest Forstner bit that I've got. Now I'm down flush with the top of the cutter. I might switch over to the other camera so you can see it a little bit more from the other side. Okay, so you can see I have my the rear end of the foot of the plane in my clamps on the Stanton bench, and I'm drilling a hole down through the blade bed. I'll take this down a little lower. Yes, 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 and yes. That should be fine. Let's have a look. That might be a better view for you guys. Oh, definitely. All right, so you can see down here, I've got my Craig clamps in the T-tracks down here and against the cushion strip, and it isn't going anywhere. This is brilliant. All right. Now I need to go down another 1/8 of an inch. So I'm flush at the top at the moment. Beautiful. What can we use to measure? That is looking pretty good. Now that distance there, this is all, is showing I've got to go a little bit deeper. A little bit deeper. I could use my calipers. And I will. I will. But they're in metric. Oh, I can switch it over to imperial. Of course I can. Alrighty. With my calipers, I leave the battery compartment slightly open so that the battery isn't turned on. And I push it in, see straight away it comes up in metric, and then I can click it to be inches in fractions, C-I-N-F-R-A-C. Now, this end here has got a thing that pulls out. If I was to pull this down, you see the little pointy thing at the end here? This measures depth. It's showing it as 15/16, just here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to blow that out of the way, lower this down, and it says 1930 seconds. So let's go back this way. 19-30 seconds. I may not be down deep enough. 5/8. I've got to go a little bit deeper. Just a little bit. These things I find, you know, sometimes it's got to be exact, sometimes it isn't. Let's have a look. Okay, 79, 128, 5/8. You know, that's going to do me. Again, I'll back that out so that the battery doesn't go flat. A lot of them say, yeah, leave it like that, but I find that they might be telling pork pies. All right, so we got that hole drilled. We're doing great. So what's the next thing? This part here. Receive the adjustment cup. Use a 9/64 bit to drill a pilot hole, 1/2 inch deep, inside the 7/8 hole. So I've got to drill a pilot hole down inside that, 7/8 deep in there. Now I did a quick calculation this morning. 3.5 millimeters is going to be close enough to the thickness they want. Remember, with all of my drill bits, I leave them in this way, so I'm not grabbing hold of the cutting area. People think I'm a little bit strange doing that, but it works for me. There we go. This is a 3.5 millimeter. Pop that in the drill instead. And I've got to go down, how long? They said I have to go down another 7/8 deep. And drill a pilot hole inside 7/8 hole, 1/2 inch deep, sorry. All right, well, we're going to guess that. That's going to do me. Love it. Beautiful. All right, so what we have, bring it around this way so you can see it. The cup is going to go in there. We've got to do some chiseling here. And I've got to drill another 7/8 hole here. Now I understand why. So another set, because that's going to be the end of where this adjustment goes. I'll get the adjustment piece out because you might be interested to see it. How are we doing for time? Wow, we're really not going very well. This is going to go in there, like so. This is going to tip up like that, and this is going to do this thing. So this needs to travel, but it's going to be able to stop at either side. So we're going to drill a hole the same diameter as the hole that we've done there. Then we're going to lower the whole thing down. Alrighty, put the other Forstner bit in. This project might take me a few weeks, but that's fine. You might find it boring, you might be good with it. Again, into the area I did with the scratch awl, and they said 3/8 of an inch deep. I think about there. 3/8 is very close to 10 millimeters. It's 9.5 millimeters, close enough. But again, we'll set it up to inch fraction and we'll zero it there. We'll slide this down and see what it says. 19/64. Got to go a bit deeper than that. There, so I've got to go down to that depth, 5/8. All right, a little bit deeper. We're back to 0 inches. Slide him down. 21/64. And if I was someone that could understand all that language to those accuracies, well then I'd be living in America. So it's got to go down another 1.5 millimeters as far as I'm concerned. Here we go. That'll do me. Let's have a look. Good. That's going to do it. Back that out again so it doesn't go flat. All right. Okay, now I have to chisel this, which means I really do need to draw a line. And the easiest way to do this is like so. Just using my finger as a guide. I'm going to chisel down here and down here. Hopefully my chisel is going to be sharp enough. I would have sharpened it more, but people give me a hard time about sharpening on the show, and that's basically the only time I get to do it. Now this mallet, I'll come back a little. This mallet I made, and I've made it offside, off centre on purpose. See, after a while, the faces get stuffed up. So I cut the face off, and it actually puts a whole lot of meat behind the mallet as I'm using it. So I find that works better. All right, let's see what we can do here. And the other side. I'm going very gently on purpose. That looks good. Spin it around this way so you can see what's going on and get that out from under there. So now the mechanism hopefully will go into there like so, like that, and then there's my lateral adjustment. I think I'm down deep enough. Now there it is. So now it is level with the bottom. I've got to make sure that it's not rocking. And it's not. That's pretty good. Now there's a cup has got to go in there. So that needs screwing in there. I think this cup comes off. This one here comes off. And I put that in individually and screw it to the bottom. Well, we're going to run out of time for that today. Let me have a look how the time's going. I think we've gone 50 odd minutes. These new specs aren't letting me see all the way over there. 52 minutes. So I've got a few more things I want to talk about on the show. I'm going to have a read of my run sheet. Dust extractor, update, wooden hand plane, Kathy Wise Intarsia, traditional tool group, the rest of those things. Yes, okay, so I think I need to move on to what Kathy is doing. But look, I'm really happy with this as we're going along. Move that out of the way, and we'll switch cameras again over to here. And move that out of the way. So there we go. That's really nice. So next week, what I plan on doing is sanding the escapement here. So you can see how it's going to go. That's going to be where the blade lives. This is going to be the front of the plane. This is the rear of the plane. The blade will slide down where my little finger is there. And as I say, I'll clean this up with the bobbin sander. And then I'm going to use Paduke. Now this plane is going to be made from 3 different continent timbers. Jarrah on the bottom from Australia, rock maple on the top, I think from the Americas, and Paduke, which I have here, which is just a glorious timber from Africa. Now this has no finish on it. That's how Paduke looks. It is beautiful. So I'm going to rip a bit of this down the center and to the width that I want. And we're going to bond both sides, James Bond both sides of this together with the Paduke. And it's going to look really sexy. Further down the track, I'm also going to try and do inlay in the side of the Padauk with rock maple. So please keep watching the show because you will see this as it evolves. And then we'll put a finish on it. And if you can see how simple it is as I make it, some people say, well, it's easy for you, Dave, you know, it's different for me. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Have a go. You'll see how easy it is as I do it, rather than me just showing you the finished product, which is going to look really sexy. And you turn around and say, oh, I could never do that. Well, you can. You can see how easy. If you haven't got one of those things, bandsaw, if you haven't got a bandsaw, you can still do it with a coping saw or a jigsaw. Just take your time, mount things securely before you start cutting, and that's half the battle. As you saw, when I was cutting that 6-inch pipe, huge pipe, it didn't move at all. I was never, ever, ever in fear of the blade catching and jumping out and cutting my hand. So this is, I love it. This is very exciting. Okay, I'm going to put that over there, and hopefully I won't cut it up for firewood. Right, the next thing. I did say I wanted to talk about Kathy Wise. Now, Kathy is over in Australia at the moment. I had the pleasure of meeting her, and as part of my thing that I do with Carbotech, I only work there 1 day a week. They got in touch with me and said, Dave, can you please help out? The person that was supposed to be doing it is not well. Are you able to drive her up to one of the men's sheds in rural Australia, up at Raymond Terrace? And I said, I really want to play here, but yes, I'll do it. And I chatted with Kathy probably 3 hours each way. Lovely person, very unassuming, quiet spoken, but she is a talent. Now I get this over here and we will switch over to some stuff that I've got. Now, when we were up there, it took her an hour and she made this out of one piece of timber. Now she uses a scroll saw and a spindle sander. Now over in America, she uses a sanding mop. Now it's something I've never heard of in Australia, and I'm going to look into that. So all of those textured areas for the feet and around the head, where it's joining one piece to the next, that's all different pieces that she's cut out with the scroll saw and cut them to different thicknesses, so it gives it a three-dimensional effect. If you can get along to one of her demonstrations, do it. She is a talent. And as I say, very unassuming. Lovely person. All right, now I'm going to throw up this short video. It's nothing special. While she was doing a demonstration, I was in the background. I got my phone out and it wobbles around a little bit. And I had to zoom in a little. The lighting wasn't ideal, but it'll give you an idea. There's two clips. One's about 2.5 minutes. The other one's about 1.5 minutes. Stick with me for this because you're going to enjoy it. Here we go. I'll shut up while it's happening.
All South American animals. I have a boa constrictor, and that's snakewood and wingay, a tapir, a toucan, tooth sloth, a caiman, that's linden vitum, is a caiman, and overlay of ash and white oak on the leaves. As I said, I really love doing the overlays. It just adds such a nice element. In the right-hand bottom corner, there's a bunch of flowers that are yellow heart and pink ivory, and the little hummingbirds are linden vita and holly and ebony and bloodwood. Lots and lots of woods I used in this. Ivory, pink ivory, blue pine. I have 4 spider monkeys, parrots, jaguars, sloth bear, hummingbirds, lots and lots of things going on. And then tucked in around those are snails and butterflies as well. So a very tropical pattern. Here's the other side, the other corner. The parrot itself was satinwood, bloodwood, linden vita, ebony, holly, bird's eye maple. Beautiful colors. And this piece has actually really kept its colors quite well. It's 13 years old, and I have this one at the house. I just couldn't part with this one. The vines are made of black walnut, and as I said, pink ivory on the flowers, and the toba and black walnut golden tamarind peeking out from underneath the leaf. And then the little frogs, the little tulip wood frog and the little linden vita and ebony frog, and those are probably less than an inch big. So little tiny stuff too. Spider monkeys. And what happened here? I guess we skipped into the next one. This is leopard's flare. After the same gentleman who bought the Three Sisters Mountain mural commissioned this one after he saw the jaguar jungle version. He liked it so well that he wanted an African version of the same thing. So this one I call leopard's lair, and it's about the same size, 60 by 40 inches by 6 inches deep, has 2,072 pieces, and it has over 20 types of wood as well.
So what I tell you, it's just, there was over 2,000 pieces, 2,072 pieces in that cat. I don't know if it's a jaguar or a tiger or whatever it is. There's over 2,072 pieces in that whole Intarsia piece. Now I've got one more here that I'm going to show you, and just it's, as I say, same kind of filming, I should say, but she's great. Here we go.
Showed you just a few pictures, but this is going to get into a lot more detail. So he came to me and just said, I want a African version of the jaguar jungle. And I said, okay. So I start out with a rough sketch. And you can see how rough this is. It's just basically getting the lights and the darks and the values into my design. It's really important to get a good balance of lights and darks. Otherwise you have a monotone piece that's very dull and there's nothing striking about it. So I like using grayscale because I know the dark wood I'm going to use black walnut and winegate. I know the light wood I'm going to use maple or aspen. And then the medium colors, the reds and some of the other sycamore colors, they'll come into play. But it's very vital to get a rough sketch and put in your values. So that's the first step. Is everyone hearing me all right? I tend to stick it too close to my mouth and I feel like I'm spitting at everybody. So here's the second section is where I'm starting to get some of the detail of the actual lines drawn in. It's still rough in parts. Some of it's just rough sketch, but I'm really starting to get a feel for the piece, where I'm going to place my different animals, sort of what the design is going to be. Some of them are just squiggle lines. I haven't refined them yet. I haven't done the bottom corner. So I sort of work in different sections.
Excuse me, Kathy, do you work in just pencil or do you work on a computer or what?
Actually, I have a computer that has Adobe Illustrator on it.
Okay.
And I use Adobe Illustrator. Really, that's all I do my patterns with. It works wonderfully. You can copy, paste, transfer, do different sections. On the YouTube channel, on the wild horses, it shows you how I'm drawing on the computer. So you get a chance to see the YouTube, my YouTube page, and look at the wild horses video, and it will show you me drawing on the computer and how I move the pieces and how I do the patterns. So, sorry about that. So here I had two versions of the leopard, one with the mouth open and mouth closed, and he wasn't sure what he wanted, so I drew both of these and then sent the email to him and said, what would you like? Because the overall thing is to please the client. And he liked it with the mouth open, so that's what we went with. See a close-up of it there. So once I get my line drawing down pretty well, then I start working in the section. So I would do like the gorilla section, and I would do that piece and finish it. So here's a close-up of some of the reference photos that I used. I used over 100 different animal reference photos in these. And sometimes, you know, I use it directly from the photograph. Other times I have to draw in, but I have to simplify it. So it's not just tracing the photo, it's actually drawing a lot of the detail in that isn't even there. So you can see an example is the one gorilla that's sort of leaning in the middle. The photograph didn't even show his arms and his feet, so I had to draw those in. Sorry. So I had to draw some of it in myself. So having a good art background is very important, because a lot of times you have to draw in what you visualize.
Okay, absolutely fantastic. do yourself a favour. If you're in Melbourne, she'll be down there Monday, so that's tomorrow if you're watching this as a premiere. I don't know how many days she's doing in Melbourne. Get in touch with Carbotech in Melbourne and ask them when she's going to be there, or other men's sheds or venues around the area. I think she's only doing 3 more demonstrations, and then she's off back to the States. So that's how. Did you like it? I think before I saw her do this stuff and saw her finished works, Intarsia, I thought, cashmere. But it really has opened my eyes. I'd love to have a little bit of a play around with it. So I've got a scroll saw, I've got a spindle sander. I may get a sanding mop as well. You never can tell. She reckons with the sanding mop, it takes about 10 minutes to do a piece instead of an hour. So maybe in Australia we should start looking at sanding mops. Something I'd never heard of. I've heard of flap wheels, but never of a sanding mop. All right, now the winner of the push block from Microjig, courtesy of Carbotech. This is the one with the sexy drop downs on the side and the super duper gripper. Let me say it like that. Is someone from Australia. All right, and it couldn't have gone to a nicer guy. It's Derek Lark. Now, the reason it came up for Derek is because he did comply with all of the rules. And one of the rules, and if you haven't read all of the conditions, you're not going to get it in the draw. One of the conditions was you must put a comment below this video. You need to read on. Don't just look at it and go, place a comment. Yeah, all right, there's more to it. You have to read through. So Derek placed a comment below the video. He entered a couple of times, because you can, that's fine. And his name was drawn out as being one of the correct entries. And we've had a few people, and I've got some things written down here. These are heaps of people entered. Here's one from Tim. Would save my butterfingers from going into the pointy bits and making red stuff come out. Here's another one from Peter Rosenwell. I am just about to unpack a new table saw in the new workshop. The Microjig grip push block, as demonstrated by Dave, would be a great safety addition. Here's another one from Dave Francis. An OH and S upgrade that would be much appreciated by my missus in my home garage tool and shed. What do we got here? Jason Dolores. I'm just getting back into woodworking and I'm needing something like this for sure, maybe even 2. That's what I've been thinking as well. Michael Jamison, the versatility of being able to use it on various machines would be great. Jim McAllister, appears to be a lot safer and easier than my current push sticks. Down here, Les Nielsen, such a great wide base, and the retracting hooks will make cutting a breeze. Look, there's more answers here, and even if you didn't put comments in under the video and you've heard your comment read out, it's because the selection will only happen. I get to see all of the entries, but only the entries that fully complied will get drawn. There you go. Okay, so heads up for next time. And I think that's about it. Thank you again to everyone for watching. Look after yourselves, be nice to each other, and don't forget, give me a thumbs up if you like the show, like what I'm doing. Don't forget to subscribe. There's a little button down there, subscribe. Ring that little bell. Just click on that little bell icon and it will let you know the next time I'm doing a show or releasing a video. And intro and text, that's it. Look after yourselves, be nice to each other, and I shall see you next week, hopefully with some pictures from the Traditional Tool Group's sale.